Then, I know it will. Wind generation wind attribute. 1. Weak. Suddenly, Kaya blew up the blanket that was covering her with wind magic. He placed his hand on my cheek as it was and began to push his face in to kiss me. It was a very sudden situation. Whoops. As Kaya's wind subsided, the blanket that floated above came out and gently covered her. In the stuffy blanket, the closeness of breathing. Isaac. Kaya stopped in front of my face and whispered with a serious face, "I'll say thanks later. Please finish it quickly. This one is for that little chicken owl." Outside the blanket, the healer shouted, these, in anger. But Kaya didn't care. Oh. For a moment, I thought Kaya was really trying to kiss her, and my heart almost sank. How long has it been since you woke up? Isn't your every word and deed too bold? In Magical Night of Marchant, Kaya actively expressed her affection for Ian when she was a vicious personality. This is what it felt like to be the party in real life? In the game. I sympathize with why Ian constantly reacted to Kaya's bewildered attitude. Anyway, Kaya seemed to have guessed at once that we were in a situation where we had to get along. I have to hide my identity, and Kaya knew that. "You're quick!" He let out a soft exclamation of exclamation. "That's fortunate." He took a piece of parchment that had been rolled up finely from his pants pocket and held it in Kaya's hand. It was a message prepared in advance. I wrote in detail how to say it. Flutter. What are you doing impurely? The healer quickly pulled up the blanket that was covering me and Kaya. No matter how much you guys are like that, you need to know the time and place. Isn't that right? A healer who puts out fear. Kaya distanced herself from me and calmly apologized. "I'm sorry." The healer frowned and glanced at me and Kaya in turn, then smirked and returned to her seat. When I'm watching it, suddenly, I felt a tingling sensation on the side of my thigh. It was because Kaya was waving her fingers around my thighs. The sentence she scribbled out with her fingers. "Were you nervous?" He made eye contact with Kaya. She placed her remaining hand on her lips and tilted her head to the side, fine light green hair flowing down from the rainwater. A sly, confident smile. Her full face was filled with an erotic smile that made me salivate just by looking at it. That smile was directed only at me. "This one is for that lil chicken owl." One after another, her fingers gently stroked my thighs again. I did. Kaya Astrian. Psychology. I want to kiss you. My unrestrained expression of affection. It looks like she is tempting her to see her as a woman. What is this? I'm embarrassed. Mom. How did it feel to be fast? Late night, all the way across the sea on the boat. There was nothing wrong with the evil Kaya, except for the occasions when he expressed his feelings for me without fail. The ships docked at the academy docks, and all the students were dropped off. The bracelet for hunting evaluation had been removed by the bachelor's side. After that, the bachelor's side began to focus on the investigation of the Elt Island incident in cooperation with the Imperial Knights. Kaya and Ian were moved to the bachelor's ward, as mentioned above. He would be called upon when the fact-finding committee convened after resting well under the protection of the academics. The bachelor's side informed Rosetta and I that they could call me if we had to do anything else, and sent them back to the dormitory. However, on the way to the living quarters, I had to accompany Luce, who was waiting for me. It was a good thing I didn't bring out that creepy restraint again. Low middle-class dormitory. Bricks building. As soon as I got to the room, I felt a sense of relief. Naturally, the energy drained from his body. I didn't even have the energy to wash. I just lay down on the bed. Once I got this in my hands, I pulled out a red earring from the inside pocket of my school uniform jacket. The loot, free blood. It had been pulled out of what was attached to Kaya's ear. If this is swallowed, even a person in danger of death can recover and survive at once. Even if a part of the body organ disappeared, it would be regenerated in a normal state. By the way, since it is a one-time item, melting it and eating it several times will not have any effect. I'll have to save it. The free blood was meant to be used for Ian as much as possible, because I'm afraid that bastard might die. It's a new thing. But this is a world of hell difficulty. Difficulty of clearing even a dead person. Even if Ian passed out on a fictional day, I couldn't help but understand. So, for me, I only got better by voicing my complaints. As an aside, to be honest, Ian felt grateful just to be alive. It would be perfect if you just get the spear sword and use Expulsion to Paradise at the right time. Next time, stat distribution. Bad. I turned on the status window and situation. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Name, Isaac. 72. Gender, male. Grade, 1. Title, first year adapting to undergraduate life. Horsepower, 7,000 of 7,000. Magical recovery speed, C+. Stamina, B. Strength, B. Intellect, C+. Spirit, A+. The fact that the rate of increase in the amount of horsepower increased rapidly after taking level 51 was clearly felt. If you hit level 1 or 1, the next magic power explosion section, you'll grow at an even greater rate. In a few days, magic recovery speed will also be upgraded by 1 level. Potential power, retained stats, 18. Growth rate, training efficiency B+, 56 of 100 up. Magic training efficiency A+, 81 of 100 up. Learning efficiency B+, 57 of 100 up. Elemental resistance, fire element resistance D, 10 of 100 up. Water element resistance D+, 16 of 100 up. Ice element resistance C+, 34 of 100 up. Lightning element resistance B, 39 of 100 up. Stone element resistance D, 12 of 100 up. Wind element resistance C, 23 of 100 up. Neutral property magic resistance D+, 8 of 100 up. Great tribal combat power. Human combat power E, 4 of 100 up. Versa. Erase combat power E, 1 of 100 up. Ilios combat power E, 0 of 100 up. Anti-demon combat power S, 100 of 100 max. Now, magic training efficiency can be S class. I invested 5 stats in physical training efficiency, 10 stats in magic training efficiency, and 3 stats in learning efficiency. Potential physical training efficiency has been improved from B+ grade to A grade. Potential magic training efficiency has been improved from A+ grade to S grade. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwimtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now, elemental firepower, elemental efficiency, and elemental synergy. Increased speed would have been faster than other first-year students. Perhaps, if you are in your second year, you will be able to aim for the upper intermediate level of Class B or higher. Sleep came like a tide. I nodded and closed my eyes, then fell into a deep sleep. The sultry winds characteristic of summer have been blown away and the gentle autumn has arrived. The trees around the orphan hall decorated themselves in red and yellow. It was moderately cool and the scenery was gorgeous, which made me feel a subtle atmosphere. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Me and Rosetta were called once more to investigate the Elt Island case, but it was not like making a statement in front of the fact-finding committee. I just did it because I asked him to give a detailed description of what the inside of the giant demon was like. Inside the academy, the Imperial Knights were quieter than usual. This was because most of the manpower went to Elt Island and started the investigation. Let's summarize the situation. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Midday, I thought as I walked through the garden in front of the orphan hall to go to the training ground. The more closely you check the scenario, the better. First of all, this Elt Island incident. With the advent of the giant demon, the bachelors and the Imperial Knights were equally dishonored. The first is that the magic tools and test bracelets made to protect the students did not function properly. The students may have been in a crisis, but there was a time gap in which they could not be located and even contacted. Even if there were no fatalities, this was a serious matter. From a distance, it would sound like the bachelor's response was inadequate. As a result, the Marchant Academy would lose many of the investors responsible for its academic finances. There will be no demons with the ability to neutralize magical powers. But that's a fact only I know. Let's think about it from a bachelor's point of view. Is there any guarantee that there will be no more demons that neutralize magical powers like this giant demon in the future? This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course not. In the end, he was in a situation where he had no choice but to prepare for the neutralization of his magical powers in the future. He must be in a lot of trouble right now. However, as the firepower support of the Imperial Knights increases, the problem is expected to be resolved. Second, the Imperial Knights were unable to stop the demons, even though they were the test supervisors. It would be a feeling of lessening disgrace in the position of a bachelor. This disgrace will further strengthen the background of sending talented people from the Imperial Knights Templar to the Marchant Academy. In the future, you will also see Kaya's older sister, who is a member of the Imperial Knights Templar. Anyway, tidy up here. The scenario flow was flawless. There are 2 problems. The first problem is that the bachelor's side suggested and discussed the possibility that I might be a black monster. It was a fact found out by psychological insight. It seemed to be based on the fact that I was an ice attribute. However, I was too weak to be considered a black monster, so the discussion was concluded to be not immediately. The problem is on Alice's side, the presence of an insider. As the spread that there are some who can be involved in the administration of the academy became widespread, Alice Carroll was immobilized unless there was any kind of confirmation. He wouldn't be able to harm anyone just because he was suspicious. The second problem is the evil Kaya. What are you really doing? I expected it, but the expression of affection was too aggressive, so I was at a loss as to how to deal with it in the future, until I defeated the evil spirit. I didn't want to focus on anything that had nothing to do with getting stronger, especially when it comes to love affairs. Just then, Kaya was walking from the other side. Come to think of it, Class A used the training ground in the previous time. Kaya's pale green hair was twin-tailed as usual. Her eyes also returned to their usual jade color. Kaya Astrian. 100. Race. Human. Attributes. Wind. Ice. Plants. Blood. Risk. X. Psychology. I feel ashamed of you. As soon as Kaya saw me, she was startled, then stopped and started to tremble. He looked like a young deer, terrified of a predator right before his eyes. We faced each other and stopped. Isaac, is your voice trembling too much? The weather has gotten a lot cooler. It's totally autumn. The street is pretty. Sue, did you enjoy the class? Well, since you're Isaac, classes don't mean anything. Kaya never said anything while sweating profusely. Judging from the state of mind, it seems that what happened on the ship was still in my memory. In case you have any questions, you can refer to iwamtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now that we've met, we should talk about whether or not you did well, as I gave you on the ship. Joe, I have to say thank you soon. Well, where else are you going? Training ground. Well, for Isaac, such a place is just boring. Kaya. Then on the ship, Kaya quickly covers her face and screams desperately as if asking her not to say those words. Her cheeks and ears were dyed bright red as if her skin had changed color. I was surprised. Soon, Kaya turned her back and started running away at full speed as if she couldn't stand it. Her screams spread all over the place. Embarrassed? I just stood there blankly for a while. The wind gradually cools. With every step, colored leaves are trampled on the path. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. More and more students were wearing cape shawls over their uniforms. I also wore the fortress like that. The island case was closed. Again, the stories about demons came and went from the students' mouths one after another. Isn't there someone who deals with demons among us? It's like the darkness of this world. Anyway, that's a little... Yes, the conspiracy theories are rejected. Myth. There must have been such a monster. Wasn't the amount of mana clearly noticeable? Aren't you the chief? He has more than S-class mana. No, if that's true, it could have been stolen by the demons last semester. Myth. You're not even a Star Witch, are you? I even fought against the demons. Then, is it true that the one the demons are targeting is among us? Probably so. But by this time, most of the students were aware of the atmosphere. The reason demons frequently appear at Marchant Academy is among the students. If not, why would the demons, who were quiet during the vacation, start making trouble again during the semester? It was a reasonable inference. From my point of view, from the beginning, it was common sense for dangerous elements like demons to appear in the academy like eating rice, because it's an academy rule. Evening games are fading away. In Josena Forest, located near the academy gate, there is a lakeside where water mana flows densely. At night, the color will become more vivid. I was sitting on a stump perched near it. Let's talk about the ending. While walking around the orphan hall during the day, Kaya handed me a note. It was the usual Kaya. There was a note on the note asking if you could come here after today's class. I want to say thank you properly. The schematic was drawn with a cute picture. Here, Lake Norin was the destination. I nodded. It wasn't like I was hoping for something in return. It was just that I had a lot to talk about with her. Today, Kaya and I were going to get rid of the gray cloth in moderation. Did you come too early? As soon as class was over, I came at a slow pace, and I think it would have been okay if I had had a little more time. He repeatedly held the magical device that looked like a gripper in his hand and let the magic flow. It was to train elemental efficiency by using the leftover time. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Meanwhile, generate wind attribute. Factor 1. Whoops. Suddenly, a wind blew from behind, a sense of magic. It was wind magic. As I turned around in surprise, I saw a girl approaching from afar. Light green ponytail hair, mysterious red eyes, and a casual smile. My personality has changed again. It was the evil Kaya. Kaya Strain. LV 140. Race. Human. Attributes. Wind. Ice. Plants. Blood. Risk. X. Psychology. I'm glad to see you. Time. You are already here. I thought I was on the quick side too, but I'm late. So I have no excuses. It's okay. But what is that? Kaya was holding an object as long as her height. It was hard to tell exactly what it was because it was surrounded by a bundle. It's a secret. The Kaya Estrine. Psychology. I look forward to your reaction when I give you a gift. Meh. You said you'd thank me properly. It looked like a gift in return. I said, is that so? I skimmed over and looked towards the lake. Kaya sat on the stump next to me. She embraces a present for me. The fact-finding committee made a statement according to Isaac's orders. Nothing happened. It was very easy to make up Kaya's statement. She also fainted because it was the same with Ian. I was negligent by the demons. I lost my mind. Rosetta saved him, healed with recovery magic. The facts were laid out that way. So, unless something special happened at the fact-finding committee, there would be no need to continue the story on that topic. I'm glad. Are you okay? Isaac, you must have saved me, and the academics must have been questioned. I didn't have much either. On the surface, I am also a victim. But where do you remember it? Kaya answered, raising her eyes upwards and fumbling through her memory. When I was taken away by demons, I remember the blood flowing through my body very quickly. My body was really hot. I felt the strong pressure and felt like my veins were about to burst. Kaya answered with one arm outstretched in front of her and looking at the back of her hand. Gradually, the twilight was coming down, and I lost consciousness. Somehow, it was as if I was struggling in a sea of blood. I felt that way. I can't even remember what state I was in back then. It seemed to be the story of when I was fighting. That is, when Kaya awakened as a blood mage and demon, those memories must have disappeared as I became a human. And for a very brief moment I regained consciousness. I was on Isaac's back. I knew it because it was the story described in Machin's Magical Night. I would have fainted again soon. At that time, I was really happy. Isaac said that he came to rescue me. Kaya gave me a bright smile. The next time I woke up, it was on my bed. At that time, Isaac was stroking my cheek with a dirty hand. You're looking for a break for me to sleep. Isaac Nim has a bit of a creepy corner too. There was no such thing as an intention. What is that intention? I wish you could explain in detail. Kaya tilted her head and let out a sly smile. Dorothy's playfulness is seen. However, Kaya's pranks were more sexually biased. People are really hot. Let's move on to another topic. Do you know what has changed? Yes, a bit much. Sometimes I feel very excited. Like now, it must have been the influence of being ruled by demons. Right? When Kaya becomes a vicious personality, she feels uplifted. Read at HTTP of Noble Metal. Confidence for unknown reasons will spring up. And unlike usual, you will not feel even a single word of embarrassment. A beating in my head every now and then, each time that happens. A vague sense of wandering in a dream will follow. From then on, Kaya becomes a different self, ignoring past memories and common sense. Eventually, you become overly honest with your feelings, like you expressed your crush on me at random. Well, it's not bad. I was able to handle new magic as well, because Isaac Nim looks even more handsome. Kaya looked at me with blushing cheek. It was a burdensome and moist look that seemed to come out when looking at a loved one. I deliberately avoided her gaze and silently looked at the lake. The bright blue light scattering mana from the lake's water became clearer. It was because the forest was getting dark. Today, honestly, I have something to talk about. Cut. When I spoke lightly in my usual tone of voice, she seemed to feel a sense of incongruity. I've been doing that since before. I've been avoiding treating Kaya with a sad tone because of the judgment that I do not know what kind of aftershock is coming because my bottom is revealed. He was trying to distance himself from her with a cynical attitude like pretending to be strong, pretending to be true, and being a junior in high school. I didn't want to do that anymore. I'm clearly aware of Kaya's love affair, and her evil personality expresses her feelings without hesitation. Even in the midst of this, if you try to avoid the gaze from Kaya's heart, it would be nothing like trampling on her heart. So, since we were able to spend our time alone, I wanted to be honest with you and nail it down. I was a little hard on you when I was dealing with you, but it was actually quite uncomfortable. Isn't it strange? I squealed badly. Kaya had a face that did not understand English. I'm sorry, but I was a little wary. I'll treat you comfortably from now on. Please understand. It should be enough to loosen the tight belt. I didn't intend to dispel Kaya's misunderstanding that Isaac is strong. If that proposition collapses, my actions that encourage Kaya would be in vain. I don't even know what to explain in the first place. And I have a goal. I have to achieve that goal in my 3rd year. So at least until then, I don't have time to worry about anything else, even if my favorite character, Dorothy, had confessed to her love. She was in a situation where she couldn't accept it now. Think back to your high school days. Naturally, dating problems were the obvious enemies of high school life. It has the power to shake people's hearts violently. In particular, the training of magic has a lot to do with knowledge. Concentration is greatly required. Here, the problem of love would be a big problem. Therefore, it would be better to block and postpone dating concerns in advance until the evil spirit is defeated. So, I was revealing a little bit of my secret and expressing rejection towards Kaya's liking. Kaya is too pretty to me. But right now, my situation is not good. I continued speaking. So I hope you understand that too. Suddenly, Kaya got up from her seat, sighed. Suddenly, I felt a soft touch on my cheek. A muffled sound echoed nearby. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huihui. Memories of school holidays overlap. I turned to Kaya. Kaya came to the side and looked at me with a casual smile with her upper body bowed. Even the bright blue light of the lake could not hide the mysterious red light in her eyes. I've had this thought before. Kaya gently pressed on my shoulder with both hands and put one knee on the stump and came close to me. She just looks down at me. Couldn't run away. Why did someone as strong as Isaac Sama come to this academy? The subtle yet strange body odor tickles the sense of smell like the scent of herbs. A warm breath runs through his forehead. It must be because of the demons. But did someone like Isaac put the word goal into their mouths? Even if that goal is high enough that there is no time to worry about anything else? Kaya chuckled. Isaknim, do you think that when we are in 3rd grade, a powerful demon will come out? Are you saying that Isaac Sama is putting together a puzzle to defeat the demon? So I infiltrated the academy to defeat that demon? What are you talking about? Kaya's interrogation came as a surprise. Imagination is amazing. However, without panicking, he summoned the famous actor Isaac and answered calmly. I couldn't even find a glitch in my reaction. Is that the reason? If I had known that something like a mighty demon would pop out in my 3rd year, I would have informed someone else in advance, because I knew no one would believe me. Wasn't it the only thing Isaac knew, with skills that I can't even imagine? The resurrection of evil spirits, based on the conclusion that only I knew the information. It was not wrong. However, it is only what I know from the knowledge of Machen's magic knight. There's no way someone like me could have such a great ability to recognize the resurrection of an evil spirit. As I was trying to make an excuse, Kaya intercepted my answer with a huh and smiled. In the end, you have no intention of dating with anyone until you achieve that goal. The senses are sharp. For some reason, an eerie feeling of anxiety began to run down my spine. It was the same feeling I felt whenever I saw a suspicious look from Luce. I quickly read Kaya's psychology with psychological insight. Kaya Astrian, psychology, I try to seduce you without mercy.
Yeah.
Yes.
John.
It's very different from what I expected. At least, if I like Isaac Selma even in 3rd grade, would you accept my heart? A scene from a youth drama like that? This one is for that little chicken owl. Or, aren't you just not interested in me? I'd rather be honest. I don't like it. I expected a situation where I would be sadly arguing with words like that. Did I let Kaya loose the reins now?
Say it.
After all, Isaac is not in a situation to date anyone. In other words, you can seduce yourself until you fall in love with him. As a result, you just have to make him choose him when he is in a situation where he can be in a relationship. Kaya must have gone through this thought process. You didn't take my words strangely. Did you? Do not worry. Well, I got it. Kaya smiled bashfully and walked away from me. I picked up an elongated object that had been left on the stump next to me. Isaac, do you know that Kaya gently caressing the things wrapped in the bag? It is said that the Rampa people who live in the Marsop forest offer options when giving gifts to their people on special occasions. It's a tradition for the other person to choose the one they like more as a gift. Is this pretty stone better? Or is this animal skin better? Kaya turned to me and smiled softly. Thank you for saving me. Without Isaac, I wouldn't be here right now. Whoops! I prepared 2 gifts in return. Please choose one. Kaya unpacked the items she was holding. Wooden cane, staff, a mana stone, in harmony with the dark blue and sunset light, which seemed to contain the twilight of dawn, was hung on the head. It was an exclamation of admiration. Kaya held it with both hands and held it towards me. The staff of Janya? This is a magic weapon in our family's treasure house. It's mine, so you don't have to worry about it. I was thinking of handling the wand too, so I brought it. I thought I would be a better fit for Isaac. A moment's saliva flowed out, but it was quickly swallowed up. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Magic weapon. I liked it very much. I need a lot of gel to get a moderately useful magic weapon, and I can't handle the frost scythe I have at the moment. It felt like the rice cakes in the picture called mage weapon. How much less Zanya's staff? I can't remember exactly if it was tier 2 or tier 3, but it was clear that it was a rare item. It was an item that should have been in the treasury of the Duke of Astrian. I didn't expect anything in return. Bah, I changed my mind. They show sincerity to this extent. But as a human being, it is impossible to ignore them. I have no choice but to accept that stick. At one point, my hand naturally stretched out toward Janya's staff that Kaya was extending. It was an instinctive move. Then, with a swish, Kaya pulled the staff behind her waist. The second option, with only one hand holding the staff, Kaya lowered her other hand and gently lifted the skirt. Pale skin. She shows off her beautiful legs and sheds a sinister smile. It's me. I stopped abruptly. What more do you want, Isaac? Kaya asked playfully in a charming voice. Kaya Astrian. Psychology. I want you to have feelings for yourself.
Ma.
The moist air of Lake Norhin wets the lungs, and the cool night air sneaks into the clothes. For a while, we looked into each other's enemies.
Ha!
I sighed and walked over to Kaya. I was close to her as if to hug her. Oh, reaching out. He took Zanya's staff and fell away from her. I will write well. Thank you. A shadow fell on Kaya's eyes. She opens her axe eye for the first time today and looks at me with a piercing face. Unfortunately, I wasn't hungry enough to fall for Kaya's cruel temptation. Behind story, hunting assessment 2, 5. Man, this is the time period after the hunting evaluation episode 2 and before the episode 3, Elt Island. During the hunting evaluation, it was time to enter the middle of the game after defeating Rose Red Rivera. Eventually, I came to a swamp, a place where thin mud forms a wide lake. It seemed difficult to get through. You can make bridges with ice or rock magic. Though, in the swamp, there was a high possibility that the illusion of a monster and the enemy were hiding. I could somehow get over it with elemental magic, but if they attack me in the meantime, I'm sure I'll lose. I'd rather go back. I moved my feet to the side. At that time,
Boo woo woo.
wow! Suddenly, a swamp erupted. The one that flew up while splashing the mud was a reptilian beast the size of 2 adult males put together. It was Dove, a swamp crocodile workhorse with water mana wrapped around its body. Dove, Elv 60. Race, Beast, Attribute, Water, Risk,
Ha!
Psychology. I want to defeat you and be praised by the owner.
Chata.
It opened its mouth wide, revealing menacing, sharp teeth.
Yeah.
A crocodile demon trying to fall towards me with a blue magic circle, hiding in the swamp. Ice and Snow Dragon Hill didn't notice the presence. I hurriedly put my fingers together to condense ice mana. The magic circle of Freeze Explosion was engraved in front of my hands. Falling Water, Water Attribute. 3. Let the alligator beast pour a large amount of water into the magic circle. I burst the condensed ice mana towards him. Ice Explosion, Ice Attribute. 5. Ice Explosion. A strong impact hits the crocodile beast and falling water. The ice that spread quickly engulfed the crocodile beast and soared up the tree.
Woo woo woo.
An elongated piece of ice that had frozen the crocodile beast fell into the swamp and became a large bridge. The hard ice ingots condensed with mana were not broken at all. It was an elongated ice block compared to the first semester. Freeze Explosion is pretty good too. The desire to cross immediately squirmed, but I struggled to endure it, as I said before. If you cross the ice bridge and the enemies attack you, You have no choice but to get hit. Master, another demon is coming. Droopy, rumblingly. The beast with a rock over its body charged with its crouched body, rolling round and round. It was an armadillo beast with a rolled up body and a height of 2 mm. It looks like he came to hear the sound of magic being cast and the sound of ice ingots falling into the swamp. Aribori. 56. Race. Beast. Attribute. Rock. Risk. Hi. Psychology. I want to knock you down and be patted by your master. My. Ice spear ice attribute. 4. After extending his arm slightly upwards, he realized the ice spear above his head. I aimed at the armadillo Fumigami, Aribori, who was rolling towards me. That was the moment I was going to shoot the ice spear. Lightning attribute. 4. Quagwang. Purple lightning pierced through the gaps in the leaves and struck Aribori. A powerful lightning strike that paralyzes the whole body. Its rock backshell was lightly shattered. Aribori lost consciousness with her forelegs stretched out without even having time to scream. Only the feet twitch intermittently. In the aftermath of lightning, a purple electric current started to flow with a squeak. What is this? Again? Man? Master, something dangerous is coming. Man. I felt my heart sink at the urgent cry of Ice and Snow Dragon. Why? What else? Suddenly, the familiar roar of a bird of prey echoes through the jungle. A blackbird pierced through the trees, wrapped in purple lightning, and powerfully landed in front of the armadillo Sokaima, Aribori. Electric current and wind pressure spread in all directions. Wow. The dog was surprised? Gaul? The bird that appeared in front of me was a black grouse with a smaller body than usual. It was the Braincreed, Gaul, and Braincreed, Gaul, Elva. 100. Race. Beast. Attribute. Lightning. Risk. X. Psychology. Nice to meet you. Isaac. I found it. Creed of the Thunder. A girl with rose gold hair was riding on Gaul's back. It was Luce Eltania, the first year head of the Faculty of Magic. Luce. Braincreed with chin on the ground. Luce climbed the nape of the Thundercreed and glided down to the ground. She sheds a gentle smile. Thank God. Lightning. You were cold when it struck. A feeling of relief came. If it's Luce, you'll always be on my side. Hey, how did I find it? Awesome. I tried to approach Luce with a smile on my face. For some reason, her condition was strange and she stopped. 2 cheeks with blush, breathing hot and rough enough to let out pure white breath. Sultry smile. Like, looking excited. The spine shuddered. Makin's night extra bad ending M. 13. Because Luce and the birdcage seemed to overlap. Luce Eltania. Elva. 21. Race. Human. Attributes. Water. Lightning. Risk. Psychology. I want to be with you all the time. I want to be with you all the time. I want to be with you all the time. I want to be with you all the time. I want to be with you all the time. I want to be with you all the time. I want to be with you all the time. I got goosebumps. So I quickly turned off Luce's status window. What? What is this emotional rush? When I saw it from the Academy dock, it was no different from the usual Luce. I kept looking. Luce took a deep breath and began to approach him slowly. Every time I saw someone using ice magic, I went to check it out. Did you finally find it? When the distance finally got closer, I could see the dark green powder flowing faintly like a haze over Luce's head. Oh my gosh. How could you not know what that is? It was the substance that flowed from the person who had been hit by the echo mushroom spores. As I recall, in Magical Night of Marchen, elder mushrooms were mainly inhabited in the highlands. Elderly mushrooms spawn spores when a creature approaches nearby. It works to maximize the emotions a person holds. For example, if you are in a state of hating someone, you will not be able to overcome your urge and will try to harm that person. If you have even a small crush on someone, that crush will turn into passionate love. I remember being expressed as I became an elderly person in the community, and after a certain period of time, the person intoxicated with the spores is forced to fall asleep. It's a completely detoxifying process, so you'll sleep like you're dead. Then I can't even wake up. It will be completely defenseless. In the process, he loses all his memories of being poisoned with mushrooms. In other words, if you found a mushroom, you had to run away as quickly as possible. How many spores did you drink? It was clear that Luce snorted and inhaled a lot of mushroom spores. For reference, that smoke is released into the hair glands as the body detoxifies the elder mushroom spores, and is non-toxic. Anyway, reflecting on what Luce had said, she could infer how she got to that point. Perhaps she had gone up to the highlands to find me. And with that good sight on the cliffs, he was looking for my whereabouts. Even if the forest is full of trees, Luce's eyesight is at the level of a monster capable of sifting through leaves and tracking my whereabouts. In the meantime, the elder mushrooms clustered in the highlands must have started spores. Luce must have inhaled the old mushroom spores. It must have been that his feelings gradually swelled and he became an elderly man. Luce approached me with the momentum to hug me, looked at me and smiled like a lover. I missed you. Isaac. A voice as sweet as the moonlight gently stroked my eardrum. With the addition of sticky breath, it changed into a seductive tone that resonated with force to paralyze my reason. Violent level of beauty. At that pleasure, I stopped like ice. It's dangerous here. I'll protect Isaac from getting hurt. Stay by my side forever. Isaac. Bringing any ASMR will not defeat Luce's voice. I felt a chilling ecstasy, as if all my clothes were stripped off and all the feathers were stroking my whole body. Cannot be done. Calm down. I managed to get my mind back and start thinking. If there is Luce, I feel like I have won thousands and thousands of horses. And if Luce became my ally, the difficulty of the Act 4, Chapter 2, food chain part would drop sharply. So it was a great advantage for me. Gradually, those who are strong enough for me will come out. In the first place, I was planning to recruit a colleague at this point. However, he was afraid of the habits of the elderly Luce, perhaps because I didn't answer because I was worried. Luce's expression gradually hardened. Do you hate it, being by my side? No. Luce secretly moved her right hand to the back of her waist. I don't know what I'm trying to get out, but a strong sense of uneasiness smashed into the back of my head like a bat. In a hurry, I called the famous actor Isaac from the inside. I reassured Luce with a natural smile with high-level acting skills. I liked it so much that I was stunned for a while. I don't like you. Is that right? Luce looked at me indifferently with lifeless eyes for a moment, as if he had no doubt. Thank you for coming. Luce, you are willing? As soon as he added a warm comment, Luce's expression began to unravel. Whoops. The sound seemed to be muted as much as possible, but as I was close, I could hear it clearly. Luce seemed to have put the unknown belongings back into the waistband of her skirt. Luce, an elderly person, seemed to have a strong sense of being a double-edged sword. Because Luce has a strong habit of keeping someone important by her side, the skepticism that could not protect the Great Witch of Heaven and Hansel's brother weighed on her and made her do that. But even a double-edged sword is a weapon that can cut through anything if handled well. Isaac, where were you going? Center. It's point, honey. So I'm going to try it too. Can you burn my brain creed? Luce nodded with a smile. I forgot and habitually checked Luce's mind again, but I got goosebumps and quickly turned it off. Well, that's it. It's urgent to prevent the bad ending. I was forced to smile and try to move along with the double-edged elderly man. That was then. Suddenly, Luce fell into my arm. What? I feel a tingling sensation and warmth in my chest. The strange body odor emanating from Luce and the subtle grassy smell of smoke emanating from the detoxifying action of elder mushrooms stimulated the sense of smell. I looked down at Luce in surprise. Haha! Luce holding onto my collar and struggling. She was panting like a person with a bad cold. The side effects of excessive inhalation of elder mushroom spores seemed to come. The reason his face was blushing as he moaned when he first saw it was partly because his body was in a mess. Isaac, I'm a little bit out of focus. Sorry. I can't even grow galls. I'm sorry I couldn't burn you. What are you apologizing for? You should rest here. For Luce now. It seemed unreasonable to control the magic power to increase the size of the brain creed. Neither of me nor Luce can ride in that body of the brain creed. Anyway, you were trying to get help from this kid? Guilt creeps in. I grabbed Luce's shoulder and tried to sit him, leaning against the tree next to him. Anyway, the Thunder Creed, Gaul, who has been reduced to level 100, will protect Luce, so there would be no worries if you leave her behind. The side effects of elder mushrooms will disappear once you get a good night's sleep. Chin. But Luce pushed my arm away and shook her head. Let's be together. Isaac, I wanted to be with you. Just take a breather, and you'll be fine again. If it's not okay, I can ride the Gallia. Luce gently stroked my sleeve. Before. It was the part that had been stained black by Rosé's magic. I'll protect Isaac. So, usually find me. Don't get hurt like this. Luce touched my wrist with her slender hand that was stroking my sleeve. If you get hurt, my heart hurts so much. A small cry was contained in Luce's voice. The effect of elder mushrooms is to maximize the emotions of an addicted person. Seeing Luce expressing her inner feelings without adding or subtracting. I felt my heart being crushed by a heavy metal ball and stopped as it is. Is this a friend or a lover? In Luce's usual Korean language book tones and boring comments, there was something that suddenly came by surprise to stop my time. I sighed and pulled Luce away from my arms. She is confused. He turned his back and sat down with one knee bent, and I pulled my arms back. Up. I turned my head back and said so, Luce staring at me blankly. It was a face that did not understand English. I say go together. I will pick you up. You care so much about me. How can my heart not melt? Rather, I thought that it would be better if Luce stayed by my side. He was also a child I couldn't hate. Besides, if this is the case, the Brain Creed will be able to fight comfortably. Without hesitation, Luce smiled brightly and carried it on my back as if it were clinging to me. Luce wraps her arms around my shoulders. I grabbed her leg and got her up. Aren't you uncomfortable? It's okay. Isaac, won't it be hard? Don't worry. I'm strong. Luce chuckled. Gallia, I'm going by a shortcut, so please support me. Leave it to me.
Man.
Brain Creed. Gaul's serious male voice reverberated in his head. So I moved my feet while carrying my Luce. It meant crossing the swamp by stepping on the ice ingots I had made. If you have the Thunder Creed, Gaul, you will be able to pass through with confidence. Isaac. As soon as Luce's voice rang in my ear, goosebumps erupted all over my body. It was a sweet tone of the level of a tactical weapon. Why? I answered without expression. Hands. You bastard, Luke said with a soft smile. It seemed to be referring to my hands supporting her legs. I thought so. It's been so long since I've seen people, so I don't know. I didn't even have to grab my thighs. Somehow the feel was ecstatic. It gets ugly. I put my arms a little more below her knees. Luce laughed as if it was funny. Thanks to Luce and Braincreed Gall joining, I don't have to use my hands. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwoomtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No matter what kind of monster illusions or enemy workhorses attack, they will take care of them. I'm glad. Really? If I were alone, it wouldn't be strange at any time or any way to be eliminated. But today, I don't smell like Isaac. I use deodorant. Too bad. There will be enemies who sniff me and attack me. I was hiding my body odor with the deodorant I bought at an unmanned store. But Isaac, I have a question. Yes. Today, love advice. Can you do it? As drowsiness gradually began to creep in, Luce's voice began to gradually decrease. Dating advice? So far, I've only given you rudimentary advice. When Luce first asked me to teach her how to love, it was difficult, but now it feels like nothing. Humans are also adaptable animals. What? Tell me. I asked without thinking. If the person I like is carrying me, what would you like me to do? I stopped my feet. Stopped by itself. It was because my brain started to run complicated. In case you have any questions, you can refer to ewoomtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now, did I confess that I liked it? Wouldn't that be possible? You like him, don't you? I realized that I had made a mistake. It's just because I'm carrying it. So that question may have come to mind. Here, asking, do you like him? Had enough room to be interpreted as meaning, are you going to confess to me right now? It wasn't like that. I misunderstood. Sorry. I moved my feet again. Isak has something to apologize for. Luce buried her face in my shoulder. I could feel the heat piercing through the fabric, even if the side effects of elder mushrooms get better with a little sleep. I was very worried because Luce was not feeling well right away. I continued to pay attention to whether there was anything wrong with Luce's body. Then, Isaac, I have a request. You can't just say one word. What? Quagwang. When a demonic illusion popped out, the Thundercreed Gallia destroyed it with a thunderbolt. I hurried my steps down that path. Luce took a rough breath, but managed to calm down and continue talking. Isaac is called Greenung. Just say one word. Expected. I'm sorry, but that would be difficult. To be honest, I don't believe in Luce, at least until the evil spirit was defeated. It was meant to prevent him from getting as much confirmation as possible. If caught, there will be more bad ending factors to consider from then on. It was better to avoid a headache situation as much as possible. Still, it is difficult to become stronger while concentrating on dealing with demons. So, after defeating the evil spirit, when you no longer need to be thirsty to prevent a bad ending, then I will reveal everything. I have decided. Well, I hope you won't torture me by saying, tell me your Grung. Is not it. Patience. Really? Of course not. Isn't that enough for you to just like me? He deliberately threw out the slurred words to block Luce's speech. From Lucerne. It would have been difficult to have complete certainty if I did not find solid evidence that I was Grung. This kind of psychological distance was just right. The current situation in which it is difficult for Luce to pour out her heart to her heart's content. However, Luce's next answer was so unexpected. Rather, my side was speechless. Maybe Luce with a faint smile. That low whisper echoed in my head. Luce. After that, Luce didn't say anything. I tried calling her name one after another, but it was the same. Luce's body was limp. One after another, the sound of quiet breathing penetrated my ears. Are you sleeping? Laughter flowed out. In the end, it seemed that Luce's body was forced to sleep in order to detoxify the elderly mushroom spores. Beep! The signal of departure sounded from Luce's bracelet. The test bracelet continuously checks the wearer's physical condition, and when the wearer becomes incapacitated, a signal of rejection is sounded. It was the same with Luce. I sat Luce leaning on the tree next to it. The Thundercreed Gall, who was supporting fire, landed next to me. Luce is sleeping soundly. As her head tilted to the side, her silky rose gold hair flowed down. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwoomtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now, when Luce comes to his senses, he must have lost his memory. Gall, you've worked hard? Soon. The proctor will come and pick him up. You, too, are eliminated following the master, so you can follow along. What are you going to do?
Bye.
I will go wherever I go. Thank you. I relieved my stiff shoulders from carrying the Luce. I go, hey, I have something to say. But Thundercreed asked, looking at me with electric current eyes, when are you going to reveal your secret to this child? It was a natural question, as the Creed of the brain would be looking at Luce like a daughter. Well, thank you for keeping it a secret. I'll tell you later when the time comes. Please don't be late. This child likes you a lot. I also want to visit my grandchildren. I'm going because I'm in a hurry. See you next. He cut off the unfiltered words of the Braincreed and hurried his steps as if he was running away, as if to go cautiously. The Thundercreed spread one wing and waved at me. I waved my arms and greeted him. Happy. Bye. I took a deep breath and cleared my mind. From now on, this is a difficult section for me. You have to avoid the battle as much as possible to get to the center. Let's do it. To prevent a bad ending as usual, I made my way through the grass towards the center. Behind story, hunting evaluation 2. End. Are you stupid? Isaac. Kaya looked down on me with a look of displeasure. He said that if he chooses to go to bed, Zanya's staff will follow him. I couldn't choose Kaya even as a joke. It'll look like proof that you're taking her heart lightly. Well, it was fortunate that Kaya's expression quickly dissipated as if it was a joke. We parted after many miscellaneous conversations. Finally, Kaya left a meaningful comment. You will think of me a lot before going to bed today. I'm in trouble. All the way back to the dorm. I was in trouble. Kaya's expression of affection was too aggressive, so it's going to be difficult. How should I treat her in the future? It seemed that I had to take a clear stance. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwumtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Next day, as expected, Kaya had returned to her original personality. Hey, sorry for being cocky. As soon as he saw me, he flashed a blush on his face as if he remembered what happened yesterday. It was a shoe run. I don't even know when I'll be able to have a proper conversation with Kaya as usual. Dinner. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. After class, we headed to the corner of the butterfly garden. Aside from the Kaya problem, it was to test Janya's staff. The corner of the butterfly garden that I had been visiting for a long time was very quiet. Only the sound of the grass rustling in the autumn wind can be heard. The atmosphere was in contrast to the noisy training ground because several students were training together. I feel like my mind and body are at peace. 5. When a girl leaning against the Zelkova tree caught my eye, exclamations flowed out. Long, pale purple hair was flowing down nicely under the indigo blue hat she was wearing. She is looking at the evening sky quietly with her legs outstretched in front of her, immersed in thought. It was my sophomore senior and my favorite character, Dorothy Hartnova. Dorothy Hartnova. Elva. 21. Race. Human. Attributes. Wind. Rock. Starlight. Risk. X. Psychology. Big. Is the picture different? The place where Dorothy is a picture? Sister, I'm dying. By the way, Dorothy and I were talking about the Elt Island incident. He told the same story as the false statement made by the fact-finding committee. Dorothy gave me Tyler to refrain from doing dangerous things, and didn't forget to say I'm glad it's okay. He was a guy with a bit of a seniority. Anyway, when I am admiring the goddess-like appearance of my favorite character, Dorothy's eyes turned to me. Soon, a bright smile bloomed like a flower blooming on her face. Chairman, senior. He responded with the same smile. Dorothy jumped up and approached me with a gun, then pushed her face closer as usual. Have you eaten? Let's partner with me. Dorothy interrupts my greeting and shouts out of nowhere. Partner. Oh, you're talking about a social church? It was time for the scenario to begin the Act 5. Chapter 1. 4 Constellations Part. Except for the Student Council. The 4 student powers involved in the administration of the Academy are collectively referred to as the 4 Constellations. Each power is named after the constellation of this worldview. Act 5 of the scenario was the part where our protagonist, Ian Fairytale, entered the blue wolf of the 4 constellations, Blue rang, and rolled around in confusion. This one is for that little chicken owl. Originally, the final boss of this part was a do-it-yourself Heinkel, but I didn't know how the scenario would play out because I killed him. And soon, the 4 constellations will be able to recruit new members from among first-year students. Before that, the 4 constellations open a social church. It is also a large-scale party that is settled in the tradition of the Marchand Academy. It is the main desire of students seeking youth to attend the event as a pair of 2 with a partner. This is similar to the way that when something like cherry blossom viewing or a festival is in front of you, you feel excited and your desire for love is stimulated. Anyone is free to attend. But to enter the center of the party, you must receive an invitation from the 4 constellations. Inside, you will be able to meet the key figures who are the main pillars of each of the 4 constellations. It was a good partner. In Magic Night of Marchand, the event changed depending on which heroine was taken as a partner. I remember it being a pretty fun episode. At the party, Dorothy seemed to want to take me as a partner. Are you talking about the social church? Sure. It's overwhelming. His eyes twinkled and he answered seriously. It was sincere. It means that Dorothy has opened her heart to me enough to say that she will take me as a partner to a social church. If I could express my feelings in body language at this moment, even a head spin was not enough. Dorothy grinned as if she was satisfied with my reaction. Like my fan. You're cool, but maybe I can't go. Why? Dorothy shouts at reflex speed. In an instant, dissatisfaction filled her face. My heart hurts. I have to train. Shrugging his shoulders, he answered as determinedly as if he were a savvy person who would go to the library alone to study during the festival. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Me, my desire to play with Dorothy was higher than the Tower of Babel. It wouldn't hurt to take a break from time to time. But the companionship with Dorothy is very striking. After all, he got involved with Luce and caught the eye of the first-year students. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwumtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Not to mention the social church is a place where all the Academy students are concentrated. If you partner with Dorothy, a rare genius who is said to have been blessed with Minhala's blessings and the Academy's greatest power, it was sure to grab the attention of all the Academy students. Even the student council president, Alice Carroll, attends the social church. In other words, it was necessary to refrain from partnering with Dorothy and attending social gatherings. Dorothy opened her axe's eyes and stared at me. Ha! And let out a short sigh. It was a prickly look. Trainworm. Not funny? Sorry. Okay, where did you get that? Dorothy glanced at Janya's staff in my right hand. I got a present. I plan to deal with this properly for a while. He didn't seem interested in who gave it to him. Maybe it's because you don't think it's the fun part. Dorothy turned her back and started walking toward the Zelkova tree again. I changed my mind. I don't want to go to a social church either. Why senior? Chairman Danyon Chung is no fun. Because a social church without a president would be no more fun. The worst is better than the worst. Dorothy leans back against the Zelkova tree, saying, I'm sorry. Then he took a book out of the witch's hat and began to read it. What are you wearing in your hat like that? Anyway, from now on, I'll have to carry out my work as scheduled. Before dealing with Janya's staff, I decided to start with rock magic, because I thought I was going to learn a new skill today. As the rock mana flowed, the rock magic took shape. Eventually, time passes. You have acquired the stone attribute magic, Rock Wall 4. Bang! Rock property magic, Rock Collapse 4 has been acquired. Yes. Learn new rock magic. A defensive magic that creates a wall of rocks, Rock Wall. Attack magic that powerfully pulls out rocks and crushes anything, Rock Collapse. The speed of learning magic was much faster than in the first semester. He seemed to be able to learn 5-star magic with ease. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Maybe even 6-star magic, like Huang Sok Shower, could be targeted during this semester. Ku. Eden. Psychology. I am delighted to see you grow. Eden. The little golem workhorse I summoned earlier. Cheered when she saw me using Rock Collapse? Perhaps because of the high-quality rock mana on the island of Elt. Eden's growth rate was accelerated and he had reached level 85. When I went into the status window, the level was displayed as 4. It was an exciting development. How many fusion power? I paid attention to Dorothy's gaze and touched the status bar with a natural gesture. Workhorse. Eden La, 85. Rank, 4. Race, Beast. Attribute, Rock. Affinity, 90. Fusion power, 75. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mana consumption when summoning, 350. Oh, that's a lot. When amalgamation power is increased, some of the functions of the workhorse can be used by me. Should I call it a partial summons? For example, if you have high compatibility with a bird's fumigation, you can embody the wings of that fumigation on your body. In the case of Eden, Rock Fist will be possible. Because Eden mainly uses the method of attaching and detaching rocks, Eden's rock armor would be fine. But mana management seems to be terribly difficult. So let's move on. And rubbing rocks on your fists. It is because the difficulty of mana operation is vastly different when you put rocks around your body so that it doesn't interfere with your movement. Next time. The purpose of coming here today, I picked up Kaya's gift, Zanya's staff, which she had left beside her. I really like the heavy feel of the grip. Zanya's staff, a rare magic weapon carved from the Sage's tree. There is a mana stone filled with natural mana of the Dawning. Excellent effect on water, ice, wind, and rock properties. Rank, Tier 2. I looked at Zanya's staff quietly. The stingy look was just my taste. This one is for that little chicken owl. Okay, let's do it. I slid the magic stone part of Zanya's staff forward and began to let the magic flow. Magic like this? How? The flowing magic could not be distracted from inside the staff. The flow of mana was entangled like a tangled thread. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Magical weapons increase the power of magic, but it is difficult for most students to handle it because it is difficult to use magic. The reason was felt, this is pretty tight. Kuwang. He clenched his teeth and tried to pour magic with Janya's staff. The magic of Frostfire was barely realized in front of the head of the staff. Frostfire. Flowers. Ice attribute. 4. What came out was a slight level of cold flame. I'd rather turn on a gas fire than this. Nyahak. Suddenly, a peculiar laughter erupted from behind. As she turned her head back, Dorothy, sitting in front of the Zelkova tree, appeared in her vision. What is that? Not even farts. Dorothy grabbed her stomach and grinned. There was a lot of shame. But Dorothy's smile was very pretty. So to say that she had strong eyes, it was pretty much right. What should I do? Chairman, you are cute. Dorothy even wiped away her tears. It looks so funny. Have to admit, because it really was like a fart. It is stimulating. Thanks for the laughs, senpai. I'll laugh at you if you want. Cool. It seemed that Eden would laugh at me whenever I wanted. Well, I've just started handling wands, so I can't help it. The beginning may be as small as a fart, but the end will be great. I wonder how long it will take to get big. Nihi! Eden raised one arm and responded to my words. Eden was the only one on my side. I feel like I'm going crazy. Get the man. Dark Knight, with Janya's cane. He pointed to the ground and walked to the middle and lower class dormitories and Briggs Hall. In order to deal with magic weapons, it was necessary to manage complex magical powers, and so the feeling of fatigue was considerable. For example, open a book and study. It would be similar if you mentally solved the formulas written in very small letters on each page. Well, when you are about to enter the Briggs Hall, I stopped at the sight of the small magic stone embedded in my mailbox emitting a soft blue light. When the light entered that mana stone, it meant that there was a letter or something in the mailbox. Can I come to you? Wouldn't there be such a thing? When I put my hand inside the mailbox, a letter was caught in my hand. I took the letter out. The head, which had been used excessively to handle the magic weapon, turned into a mess in an instant. Red envelope. Among the 4 constellations, the mark of the red statue, which symbolizes the constellation of the red elephant, was engraved. It was a picture of a constellation. Why is this coming to me, man? This letter is an invitation to enter the center of the party hall in the social church opened by the 4 constellations. It was like a qualification to enter the Red Star among the 4 constellations according to my choice. Magic Night of Marchin, Act 5. Chapter 1, 4 Constellations. Part begins when Ian Fairytale receives an invitation from the 4 constellations. Invitations are usually sent only to exceptional students or special students like Ian, who has a light attribute, to draw them into their own power. In other words, it was never meant to come to me. A radar called intuition works. I began to have an ominous feeling that the scene in Act 5, which I was trying to skip without thinking, was going to get twisted here and there. Isaac, you must embrace that man. There are a total of 5 student factions that can be involved in the administration of the Marchin Academy Faculty of Magic, except for the Student Council. The other 4 are called 4 constellations, after the constellations. Black Tiger, Blue Wolf, Golden Eagle, Golden Smell, Red Elephant Constellation, Reds. The balance of power of the 4 constellations is reversed through the Student Council President election held at the end of each year. This is because the position of the constellation changes depending on which constellation group the Student Council President comes from. For example, the Student Council President Alice Carroll is a member of the 4 constellations. Therefore, among the current 4 constellations, the power-holding power is Gumchi. Some of the constellation members are the current Student Council. The constituency that came to power in the Student Council tends to monopolize the power. So even non-student constituencies are given a certain level of suffrage from the academic side. Thanks to this, the Holy See, which failed the Student Council, can keep the Student Council in check. If you become the Student Council, you can wield great power within the Marchin Academy. Besides, it is a great merit that it becomes a huge specification that anyone can recognize after graduating from the academy. To find out the background of Isaac's invitation to the 4 constellations, it goes back to a few days after the hunting evaluation was over. Elapas Pavilion occupies a corner of the site of the Marchin Academy. In the front yard, the lake with the watermill and the trees with red petals harmonize well, reminiscent of the scenery of the eastern countries. The tall wooden building located there was the home of the Red Elephant. The Red Elephant. Among the 4 constellations. Inside, the office. The wall was engraved with a constellation symbol representing the constellation of the Red Elephant, a big man with his teeth on his back, and a group of female secretaries with lifeless eyes on either side. The red-haired man sitting at the desk had a muscular and ferocious look that made it hard to believe that he was a student. His dark red hair was short and sporty. It was the constellation of the Red Elephant. The leader of the enemy, Malik. The girl with glasses, standing at a distance from the man, crouched and continued talking. No, he is a person who must be preemptively recruited faster than the other constellations. Eva Highrover, a girl with glasses, who had been recruited as an enemy's intelligence collector, showed a nervous expression. The memories of the first semester, along with the pressure from the eyes of the leader of the enemy, Malik, were creating a sense of fear. Soon, the 4 constellations will be able to attract some first-year students into their own forces. There will be a battle for talent. During the first semester, Eva recommended talent based on the information she had collected, but she could not mention the name of the most important person. If possible, keep what you found out a secret. Otherwise, I don't know how Dorothy will harm her.
That.
The words of Ella the White Cat, Dorothy Hartnova's nostalgia in the first semester, were engraved in my mind. It was as if her intuition was screaming for the last warning. But during the vacation, Eva had already made up her mind. Isak, who is it? To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Hiwehwe. Malak asked in a loud voice. His arrogant personality was revealed in the way he looked down on people and the way he was holding his chin. It was not unusual for Malik to hear the name Isaac for the first time. Isaac only made a number of gossips during his first year, but only a handful of those in the second and third years who heard his name. He, an irregular existence, a commoner who doesn't even have a surname, a man who was famous for being the lowest and weakest, Isaac. But he was no mere inferior. The overwhelming leader, Luce Eltania, was the only one showing favor to Isaac. At the end of the first semester, the second class Kaya Astrian and the third class Ciel Cornetas also sided with Isaac. The most surprising thing is that Dorothy Hartnova, the strongest member of the Marchin Academy, also had a close relationship with Isaac. What is the growth rate? Hasn't the amount of horsepower gone from E-Class to Seals Class in half a year? It was a phenomenal speed that no one could deny. No one can predict how much further growth he will achieve in the future. So, Eva told Malik everything she had seen and learned. To let you know that I've been through a lot. Then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Malik raised his thick eyebrows as he listened to Eva's explanation. It was an interesting response. Evane, what do you mean? Magic Night of Marchen, Act 5, Chapter 1, Four Constellations. This part begins when Ian Fairytale receives an invitation from the Four Constellations. In Act 5, Chapter 1, Enjoy the Social Church. In Act 5, Chapter 2, he becomes friends with Lifa, an illusion disguised as a human. In Act 5, Chapter 3, he confronts the enemy as a member of the Four Constellations, Xiangrang. In Act 5, Scene 4, a self-taught Heinkel breaks in and fights Ian. Right now, we were in the middle of Act 5, Chapter 1. Ian attends a social church with the heroine chosen by the player and enjoys a sweet event. There, he encounters the Four Constellations for the first time. The Four Constellations will engage in various psychological warfare to take possession of Ian, a rare constitution of the light attribute. Ian has already decided where to go. In this scenario, Ian will choose the Blue Wolf seat, Blue Rang. This is because the leader of the Blue Rang, Ray Raz Morgan, is an all-rounder with both swordsmanship and magic skills. This is Ian's ideal. Anyway, at the center of the party at the social church, the Four Constellations hold an event for students who have received invitations whenever the time is up. You roll a ball with treasure. When the students are flowing magic power, the treasure chooses the one that is attracted to it and rolls in its own orbit. This is not to say that the treasure has will. The ball naturally moves toward the student, who resonates well with the treasure and magical power. Ian also gets a treasure. Necklace of Cherubim. It is an accessory that amplifies the magic power of the light attribute. The reason that such an item was only given as an event reward between students was simple. I thought it was just a pretty expensive accessory to others, but it turned out to be a huge treasure. The light attribute had not yet appeared in the academy, so the treasure didn't really shine. When worn by demons, it transforms into a necklace of a fallen angel and amplifies the power of demons. Some intelligent demons who noticed this try to steal Ian's Cherubim's necklace from the second year part. Anyway, Cherubim's necklace was useless to me, but it was necessary for Ian. In other words, it would be necessary to examine whether the necklace would fit well into his hand. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Night. Low middle class dormitory. Bricks building. I was sitting at my desk, reading my enemy's invitation. Even the stationery was beautifully decorated. When I said Evane to my monologue, Ice and Snow Dragon Hild asked what it was. He had changed from a small, quiet, pure white spherical light to a light that flickered like flames. The figure had pale blue eyes, thanks to the increase in my magical power. The shape had also changed. Eva High Rover. Enemy intelligence collectors? I think he sold my information. This is the story of the Four Constellations we talked about last time. Mana. The contents of the stationery contain stories about Isaac, a promising youngster whose horsepower has soared from E-Class to C++ class in half a year. A talented person who succeeded in 5-star magic despite being a freshman. I salute you for that. Sounds that you don't even want to hear.
Maya though.
The enemy seeks results. No matter how much I grow faster than other students, the amount of magical power is only C+. The enemy had no reason to be interested in me. It must have been Eva who persuaded the enemy to join me. This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course, he knew who each of the first-year intelligence collectors of the Four Constellations were. The enemy's intelligence collector is Eva High Rover. She was a girl with glasses. It must be because Luce invited me. There have been rumors of me and Luce being like that from time to time. But in the end, it was just a rumor that only spread between the first graders. Perhaps the enemy didn't seem to know how to follow me like a sausage if I dragged him in. Eva's persuasion must have played a big role. Do you really think so? That's what I thought too. It is not difficult to draw a picture of Luce following me. For reference, in Magical Night of Marchen, Luce did not enter any of the Four Constellations. If you enter the Four Constellations, your freedom of action will be restricted. He was truly a solid senior. I leaned my back against the back of the chair and pondered. In order not to be noticed and to focus on training, he tried not to attend social gatherings. It was only that Ian got the cherubim necklace well, but he planned to check it only with clearly eye. There will be no demons intervening in this part or any special crisis. However, there was no guarantee that the scenario would flow stably. I didn't think about it. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. My goal is to stop all bad endings. I always had to pay close attention to the progress of the main scenario. Based on game knowledge, consider all possible variables from now on. Let's be as conservative as possible, and assume the worst of the worst. When I had established the course of action in my head, Ice and Snow Dragon asked a question. What are you going to do next? Didn't I say I don't want the Four Constellations to stand out? Bing and Snow Dragon had talked a lot about the bachelor's degree. The ultimate purpose of defeating the evil spirit has not been said yet, but basically, he knew a lot about me. First of all, I will do an investigation. The same thing I was worried about didn't happen. There is a clairvoyant So if you take a look at something like this, you can easily recognize it. Did Eva Highrover simply stop selling my information? Heinkel, a self-taught villain in the second semester of the first year, and Lipa of the Illusion disappeared, and what dangerous variables were not created. It was necessary to investigate before the start of the social church. First, I have to borrow the robe. When the social church approaches, all stock will be robbed, so you have to borrow it in advance. The robes of this era? I want to try it on too. I'm sorry, but I'll match you with the suit when it's in shape. Ice and Snow Dragon? Healed. Psychology. I'm looking forward to wearing a pretty dress. Although the Ice and Snow Dragon was in the form of a flame, both eyes were twinkling. It would be good if it had a shape anyway. But I don't know what makes a dress so greedy. First of all, I decided to understand that the guy is also a female. If it becomes a baby form later, I will have to adjust it to an improved version, and before the start of the social church, after investigating the 4 constellations, as if for granted, I could notice that the scenario had been greatly distorted. Weak. Even in the middle of the night, Rosetta Lionheart couldn't leave the second training ground, a wooden bat with mana stones embedded in it, wielding a magic weapon. Lokta, and constantly wielding rock magic. The opponent is a monster illusion. I've already broken through the high-level monster illusion, but I just feel like it's not cool at all. I don't know how long we fought. Rosetta, drenched in sweat, let out a long breath, letting heat run through her body. Then, she suddenly screams and repeats blaming herself for her weakness. Once more. The demonic illusion came out again. 5 Tauros, giant monsters with bull heads. However, after giving and receiving a few some, all of the Tauros had to collapse. I was not satisfied. This is the rock magic that so many people have supported so far. She also had her own pride. However, the stone magic seemed very dull for the fortress. It was the influence of walking around with Isaac in the body of an underground giant. Compared to his strength, he was too weak. Ever since that day, my heart has been feeling sublime. Rosetta sat down on the dirt floor. Hey, don't you feel better? In the wide dome-shaped training ground. Only Rosetta's voice fell silently. Rosetta's ideal type was a man who was stronger than him. This was also one of the purposes of coming to Marchion Academy. He seemed to have finally found such a man, but the problem was that he was too strong. All she wanted was a man who could take her down after a fierce fight. Like Isaac, a man with a height of heights that cuts through the sky makes him feel like someone from another world. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. More than a sense of victory. More than the desire to catch up. More than longing. More than love. Fear and emptiness prevail. That thought soon stains the past with shame. He said he was so good, that he was strong, that he wanted to fight, and that he was degrading all sorts of prestige. That guy, I wish I didn't know. It was a monologue that was repeated over and over again. Rosetta closed her eyes and sighed. Late at night, Rosetta left the training ground. The academy site was empty, so it was very quiet. Rosetta bowed her head and looked down at her hands. Trembling hands. If I repeat this over hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of times, will I be able to reach the status of Isaac? He was dealing with a high-ranking magician beyond imagination, and he used high-level magic lightly. There is a long way to go. I don't know how to handle this inferiority complex. Rosetta clenched her trembling hands and moved her feet. A week later, the quiet autumn night was as noisy as tonight. The grand curtain of the Marchion Academy 4-star social church has risen. The social church was held at the Palace Hall. A total of 4 buildings and a tall spire were used there for various academic events and important events. The building is in the form of 3 buildings enclosing 1 building. The building in the middle was the center of the party hall, where only the 4 constellations and invited students could enter. The party halls in each building were grand. It was spacious, even though all the students of the Marchion Academy were occupied. The band rubbed the strings of Biel and Lebec and played the long tromba marina. The sound of the strings of the convex medium-sized organ bouncing was mixed with the music. Several instruments were playing a refreshing melody suitable for the party atmosphere. Students who enjoy food and drink, music and gentle dancing. Each of them was neatly dressed in their party attire. Indeed, it is a place that suits this body. The center of the Palace Hall, Atla Hall. A large number of high-ranking students from each department gathered there. Faculty of Magic, Faculty of Knights, Faculty of Alchemy. Among them, Tristan Humphrey, a vain blonde nobleman from the Faculty of Magic, leaning against the railing on the 2nd floor. He lifted a wineglass and exclaimed with excitement. 2 of the top-class B students who were with him laughed and clashed with him. All of them came after receiving an invitation from the 4 constellations. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mateo Giordana, a light brown-haired male student eating at a nearby table, glanced at them and went back to eating. As a commoner, it was rare for him to enjoy such a luxurious dinner. If you don't eat a lot, it's a loss. Around him, a dark-haired boy, Ian Fairytale, was enjoying a meal and chatting together. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwumtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now, Tristan's narcissistic stutter had permeated them like a piece of their daily life. Oh, Kaya Young-A. Even if you've heard of it, you wouldn't be so beautiful. Suddenly, the soft exclamations of male students were heard in Mateo's ears. Looking around, I saw male students looking at the female students of the Faculty of Magic with lustful eyes. Among them, The one who receives the most attention is the cute and pretty girl with light green hair. It was Kaya Estrini, the first-year deputy head of the magic faculty, the dignity of the daughter of the Duke of Estrines, and her beautiful beauty, a male student who only glanced at her appearance once would not be here. I want to see you, Isaac. But Kaya doesn't care about the male student's gaze and never eats again. Brilliant red eyes. She had been turned into an evil personality. I came to wear clothes with care. Bye. Kaya in a dark green dress. The hem was short enough to show off her immaculate legs. The evil Kaya was full of intentions to seduce Isaac at this party as well, so she deliberately chose a dress that showed off her legs. The hair was not the usual twin tail, but a neatly braided back and rolled up. Luxurious accessories were not forgotten. This one is for that little chicken owl. Other side. A beautiful girl was picking up a large piece of meat with her bones and devouring it like a savage. It was a look that did not fit her aristocratic status very well. A girl in a pretty yellow dress with orange ponytail hair. It was Rosetta Lionheart. That bastard isn't coming. Even as she was biting on the meat she loved so much, Rosetta's nerves were elsewhere. Isaac, he, who was probably stronger than anyone here, had not appeared. Well, he's pretending to be weak for some reason. Even if I wasn't invited, I could understand. It's also a monster that hides the amount of mana in the first place. Rosetta thought so and chewed the meat. Foo-foo. It cannot be compared to the meat quality of 100-year-old pigs that have been preserved in a frozen state for many years in the north. It's quite edible. Though, a girl with short pink hair, Caridna White Clark. She said, "Is the food to your taste?" Of Class B followers. He answered questions like this with a smile. The thought that it was not even the food they made did not come out of my mouth. When I first attended this event, I felt a little nervous because I was afraid I might run into Isaac. In the end, it seems that the man was not invited to the Atla Hall. If I had received an invitation, I would have come sooner. The thought brought peace to Caridna's mind, cause the little boy is scared. But isn't the chief coming? The opponent I was interested in one after another was Luce Altania, the overwhelming chief of the first year of the Faculty of Magic. She must have received all the invitations to the 4 constellations, but somehow she didn't show up. It was difficult for Caridna to have good feelings. But if you think about the future, it would be good to somehow build a relationship with Luce. Even if his humanity is harpooned to the level of a sociopath, he wants to reject everything other than Isaac. It is undoubtedly true that he is a talented person with no flaws. A party to relax your mind like today would be the perfect opportunity. Luce didn't seem interested in even a party like this. It was a pity. Yet, with a chuckle, the luxurious arched door of the party hall opened. Caridna reflexively looked towards the door and her face turned white. The one who came in was Isaac, a red-eyed male student with semi-curly blue and silver hair. Isaac had his bangs half up for the party. The white formal robe went very well with the body that had been sculpted by exercise. On the other hand, a good impression of a person seems quite mild. The students of the Faculty of Magic showed a look of surprise, because I couldn't understand how Isaac was present without being filtered at the entrance of the building. The other undergraduates also looked to Isaac. It was because the beautiful female students who had been paying attention had their eyes fixed on him. Legetta frowned. Caridna trembled in fear, and Kaya's eyes widened as if she had seen an unbelievable sight. Kaya almost had her heart stop. It was the feeling of wanting to bleed. The appearance of a blue-haired male student who opened the door and entered was not something she could handle, but she bit her lip and struggled to bear it. Ah! Isaac, did you plan to kill me? How are you so handsome? Meh. The blue-silver-haired man who came in fashion. Kaya blushing at Isaac. She turned her head to the side, covered her burning cheeks with both hands and slyly smiled. Very handsome. Actually, he is a more handsome man than Isaac. There are several in this place, but in Kaya's eyes, Isaac seemed the most handsome than any other man. After adding the bean pods, his charm was soaring without realizing it was high in the sky. I had the urge to wrap wind magic around my body and fly to Isaac at any moment, but it couldn't be. But, because you told me to pretend not to know? I had a conversation with Isaac beforehand, so I had to refrain. His will must not be disturbed. How did you get here? Well, Tristan Humphrey, a vain blonde nobleman, came to Isaac, a face full of dissatisfaction. The fact that Isaac had entered the Atla Hall with him seemed to have touched his heart. Isn't this the place you guys would come from? There is no way that you could have received an invitation to the 4 constellations with only that skill, right? A shadow fell on Kaya's eyes. She tilted her head expressionlessly towards Tristan. Tristan, who dared to raise his voice to Isaac, was very ironic. No matter how strong you are, your mana is still at a low level, right? A guy with no particular corner came to this place by some expedient. When Kaya thinks about whether to use wind magic to blow Tristan away by waving her fingers, suddenly, a hand was placed on Tristan's shoulder. He looked at the girl who had touched him with a questioning face, and then swallowed a gasp. It was Rosetta Lionheart. I'm not the type to meddle in things like this. Legetta came closer to Tristan's ear and whispered quietly, "Just shut up and go. If you want to live, with a single drop of cold sweat," Rosetta warned so. I was so afraid of being myself, who was watching Tristan's words and actions. I couldn't stay still, instilling bad feelings into Isaac. There was no suicidal act. If the apprentice knight confronts the knight leader, Even the knights around him will be dazzled. It was as if I was watching such a situation. A monster among little monsters. In case you have any questions, you can refer to iwimtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No matter how uninterested Tristan is, he is also human. So he must live his life conscientiously. That must be human nature. This was a possible response because it was Rosetta who did not know what Tristan had said and done to Isaac. Then, Rosetta falling from Tristan. She didn't want to be close to Isaac, so she fled the place at a frantic pace. What? Bye. Tristan's mind was confused. Legetta Lionheart. What that brave woman had just said meant, if you don't want to die, stop fighting right now. Why the hell is she siding with Isaac? Suddenly, the memories of the first semester of the first year, the class placement evaluation, came back to Tristan's memory. The second seat here, Kaya Estrian, also sided with Isaac. When is the end of the first semester evaluation? I remember the chief, Lucelle Tanya, protecting Isaac. I don't know why. However, it was clear that most of the A-class girls who were much stronger than Tristan were on Isaac's side. I tried to eat the fish, but after that, there were a lot of predators such as sharks and killer whales, so I felt a sense of danger as if they were threatening to kill me if I approached them. I don't know what Rosetta said. Then, Isaac spoke to Tristan. Well, it's been a while. Nice to meet. Isaac taps Tristan on the shoulder and then walks past him. After that, Tristan didn't say anything.